todo esto respecto a esas noticias económicas. Vamos con el análisis. Javier, ¿te parece? Venga.
Matthew Martin, US economist at Oxford Economics. Thank you for coming, Matthew. How are you?
How about yourself? Thanks for having me today.
Well, first of all, let's talk about the debt ceiling. We're seeing right now that in Congress. What do you think about the debt ceiling? How is it going to impact the economy moving on in the next months?
Sure, thanks. Well, first and foremost, we view the debt ceiling and the resolution of it so far as an overall positive for the economy. Defaulting on U.S. debt would have been something very terrible for the economy overall. It would have impacted a lot of different sectors. So a resolution to it is really going to be helpful. Now, there are obviously some spending cuts overall placed into it, but we believe that these are going to be modest overall. It will provide some drag on the economy by reducing overall government spending, but it should be minimal overall, particularly compared to what would have happened if we had defaulted on the overall debt.
Matthew, thank you. And talking about the employment, we saw the base book today. We also saw the JOLTS, the vacancies on the U.S. labor market. How do you see the labor market during these months? Because we are seeing job openings rose again to 10.1 million in April. They are erasing some of the declines made through the first quarter of the year. And this is putting the Federal Reserve with a very important question for the meeting of June. Are they going to raise? Are they going to pause? What can we expect about this number?
Sure. Well, first and foremost, we continue to view the labor market as extremely tight, with multiple metrics from the employment report to JOLTS that came out today to initial jobless claims that are all painting a very similar picture. We do believe there's moderation ahead as the U.S. economy heads towards a potential recession. Elevated interest rates, tighter lending conditions due to the banking crisis earlier this year, and slower consumer spending should lead to a pullback in hiring overall. The key to look at is the service sector, which accounts for over 80% overall payroll. If the Fed is going to slow labor demand, this sector will need to account for a larger proportion of the overall slowdown. But with that being said, the Fed is certainly in a tough spot right now, with labor demand still at a high. Wage pressures are going to continue to run ahead of the 3.5% that they'll be looking for, which is consistent with their 2% inflation. At the moment, we still see the Fed on pause, with certainly no potential for rate cuts later in this year. There is a risk for an increase in the rates at the June meeting, as the Fed at the last FOMC meeting did say that if incoming data warranted a resumption of rate increases, they would not be afraid to do so. But at the moment, we believe that is overly hawkish and would call for a pause in rates at the June meeting.
Jose, it's a pleasure. About the debt ceiling, do you think we finally have an agreement today with the votes? And do you think it's everything is going to be well, or do you think we have a technical default until the 6th on June or something like that? Do you think we have a problem with the default, or it's a solved question to you?
Certainly, I think there is a potential surprise. I think there are members of either party on the far left and right that are not going to be completely happy with the deal. But at the end of the day, I think it is a resolution that will make those in the middle happy, and that will allow the debt the ceiling to be raised. There are a lot of technical pieces to it, whereas the Fed and the Treasury would have to deal with a potential default. I think the first date would be June 15th when the first payments are due. So with the resolution of the debt ceiling, I don't see this being a problem. Again, the U.S. government is always available for a surprise, so we can't completely rule this out. But at the moment, I think the resolution is in place. Markets are happy with it. And I think those in the middle of each of the parties will be happy with the resolution. So at the moment, I think we're okay with the current forecast and wouldn't want any changes to happen, certainly.
Thank you very much, Matthew Martin, US economist at Oxford Economics. It was a pleasure to have your analysis here at Negocios Televisión. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.